It's a 360 Comics takeover tonight on Comic Book Canon. You heard me right. I have taken over the show. I have ousted Jeff finally. You don't have to deal with him anymore. This is going to be awesome. I've got the whole show to myself. I can do whatever I want. Talk about all the awesome things that I have to talk about. You know, think about it, guys. Jeff is responsible for Chet getting hired. That was his doing. I'm just kidding. Jeff is not available tonight. He is currently don't tell anyone. But the FBI tapped Jeff, going on kind of a reconnaissance mission. He's busy doing that right now. He will be back next week. Don't worry. And I've actually got some cool stuff for Jeff next week, but we needed someone tonight. Chris couldn't make it, unfortunately. So we have a very special guest. We've got the P.O.P.E.D.O.C. himself, the Pope of Chili Town. What's up, Mike?
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Yeah, so if you didn't see the thumbnail with Mike's beautiful face that I pulled off an old picture of him.
Someone just got unfriended on Facebook.
What was that?
Someone just got unfriended on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I did pull that from an old Facebook video photo of Mike. I personally think it's a really great picture. I did not make it. I cannot take credit for that amazing Pope of Chili Town M.O.D.O.K. collaboration. That was Jeff. Although being on vacation, he did a lot for this show tonight. So, I mean, not vacation. I meant the special reconnaissance mission. But anyway, yeah, let's get into it. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. There was a ton of news. We're going to talk about that stuff. We're still going to do Ask Joe. We won't be doing Fresh from the Comic Shop. We won't be doing props or flops because of Chris not being here. But we will be doing Fresh from the Comic Shop. Everything's going to be kind of like a normal show without Jeff and Chris. And this is crazy because this is actually the first ever show for Comic Book Canon that did not have one of the two original co-hosts, Jeff and Chris. And it might be the first one without Jeff. I'm not.
I was going to come on and joke that this was like the third best episode of Comic Book Canon of all time. But I was just checking before we see the early reviews, and I'm seeing that this is like the single best episode of Comic Book Canon, is what it's being called in the press on the wires. So I'm pretty excited. They don't really know like what the variable is that's making this the single best show, but they're all like pretty consistent.
What was the first best show?
This one.
This is the first now.
This is the best show now. Yeah, that's what the press is saying. So
okay.
Yeah.
What do they know? Is this a Rotten Tomatoes thing?
No, I don't know. Comic Vatican Gazette is saying single best episode. The Portobello Times. They're all up. They're all up on it.
Speaking of Portobello Times, I'm very jealous because we don't have a mellow mushroom anywhere around here. But my wife is currently in Virginia and she had mellow mushroom, and I'm jealous about that. Anyway, let's get into the show. We're enough talking about fungi, and let's move on to some fun guys talking about comic books. See what I did there? All right, the first piece of news for today actually has to do with something that we talked about last week. And you may remember, if you were on the show last week, we were discussing something we often say on this show, talking about heartstrings. And, last week we spoke about why is the term heartstrings used to talk about emotions and stuff like that. And shout out to Fat Dad Comics 81. He did something pretty cool, something very innovative. He Googled it for us, which is amazing. According to Google, the chordae tendineae, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, also known as the heartstrings, are cord-like tendons that connect the papillary muscles to the tricuspid and bicuspid valves of the heart. The chordae tendineae play a role in atrial and ventricle systole. But does this really end our debate? I'm not sure how this really ties into our emotion, but at least we got an official word on that now. Pope, use your comic knowledge here. as well as your medical degree that you obviously have to weigh in on the situation.
I'm just relieved. That's all. Like, this has been weighing on me for a week.
I've been
Um,
feeling it in
yeah,
my lungs, in my
yeah.
heartstrings. See what I did
Well,
there?
I have to look more into this Google that he used. This is pretty exciting technology, and I look forward to finding out more about it.
Yeah, yeah. Says the guy. Says the guy who has a Yahoo email address. Oops, I said it. All right, on to the next topic. We got some awesome stills as well as some video from Boom Deadpool #3. We got the Wolverine in the yellow suit finally. We even got some action shots, like I said. Really, really cool stuff. I'm excited. I don't know if anyone saw the video. I did see a few of them. Seems like the two are fighting in front of a 20th Century Fox. Um, the logo, the giant like monument, I guess you could call it. And yeah, looks amazing. I'm really excited for this. Wolverine 88 has once again spiked. That book has spiked several times over the last couple months due to rumors, official announcement, all of that stuff. And now that we see this and we see this yellow Wolverine suit, I think we know that good things are coming. Unfortunately, due to the writer's strike, which we'll get into in just a second, production has shut down, but I think we can all be very excited about these images. What do you got to say, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? It looks great. The suit looks great. I think I have a hard time imagining that Ryan Reynolds is going to let this opportunity go to waste. These two guys have a great rapport together. I mean, I think this is just kind of everything that a lot of us have been waiting for, and can definitely reinvigorate some excitement in some of these movies. Myself, I think the suit looks fantastic. I'm a little more partial to the John Byrne brown and gold.
Sure.
So I would have loved to have seen that make it appear. And who knows? Like, for all we know, there's going to be multiple suits. Maybe in this movie. We're seeing one day of filming. It looks like, or like one set piece that they're filming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it looks great. What else can you say?
Yeah, and it seems to me, given the wreckage of the 21st Century Fox logo, that Josh could be right on this, that they're in the void. Deadpool, just like he kills off the Marvel universe in the comics, he could very well be killing off the Fox universe.
Yeah,
which could potentially bring the continuity back to
yeah. So Jen Garner is confirmed, right? Elektra.
Is that actually confirmed?
That's what I was asking. Was that confirmed or was it a rumor?
I thought that her and Ben Affleck were still in the rumor stage.
Okay.
But I mean, it would not be surprising if that's what they're doing. If they're doing a multiverse movie to kind of reset things to the MCU, get rid of all the the loose ends, if you will. And especially as they go in, as we're progressing through the beginning of the multiverse saga, it makes sense to kind of nip some of that stuff preemptively, so that they can move on.
Yeah, I mean, whether that's what they're really doing, it sounds like that's a real possibility. Or the movie is just going to be meta as fuck. Like it's going to be bonkers. We knew they were doing kind of a multiverse thing, and sort of like riffing on sort of in a way the phase the MCU is in right now. So it seems logical that just sort of like, let's get as many Fox. I mean, I've heard rumors about Halle Berry. I've heard rumors about Patrick Stewart. There's all kinds of rumors floating around there about some of these Fox actors. So now it's all kind of coming together that you said that, and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if Patrick Stewart's not in it. I said that from the beginning. And the fact that I believe, at least I remember that Owen Wilson's Mobius is confirmed. So that being the case,
I'm losing track of confirmed and rumored, but yes, I've heard. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Imagine a situation where Deadpool gets caught like breaking the fourth wall, and Mobius is like, "No, don't do that. I'm going to hire you to help me with some stuff." And
Yeah.
you know, maybe that's what's happening. He's trimming the branches of the sacred timeline or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That would be
um
great.
yeah. But anyway, like I mentioned, unfortunately, there is a bad side to this news, and that is that the writer's strike has put this on hold. Sorry, not the writer's strike, the SAG strike. You know, the writer's strike obviously has been going on for a couple months now, and you know, nothing really in sight at the moment as far as some kind of resolution, but they were still able to go on with filming. You know, certain rules would apply, but now they have to shut down production altogether because now actors are striking as well. This is going to really slow down a lot of movies that are currently in production, and it's going to push back movies that are currently in pre-production looking to move towards production. So I think that it's only a matter of time till a deal is reached. Otherwise, it's going to be, you know, problematic for these studios.
For sure. I mean, you know, it's like, look, it all's coming down to money, basically. At the end of the day, it's not like, you know, it's not like they're going to throw their hands up and like shut the lights off and, you know, at Hollywood and say like, well, we had a great run, guys. You know, like let's shut it down.
Right.
You know, so they're gonna come to their terms and things are gonna get back on track. But there will be a blip of product, you know, where things are going to be missing, you know, for a few months
Sure.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah, and you know, think about this. We had this happen already.
yeah,
We had during 2020 when everything was shut down. There was a period of time where stuff was not getting made. So we went from the movies that came out in 2019 and the first half of 2020, or the first part of 2020, to things getting released on streaming services only, to, you know, a big delay in a lot of things. So it's this is not something that's unusual. I hope that they utilize this time to really you know, obviously get what they need as far as the writers and the actors, but also I hope that, you know, the higher ups, the corporate, they kind of take a look at how things have gone and make sure that things are coming out at an appropriate pace, because there certainly has been a lot of content put out in the last few years, and I hope that we don't see, since we're seeing a pause now, I hope we don't end up, you know, seeing it all get bunched together again like we have the last couple years.
yeah. I mean, there's you know, people talk. You know, you hear a lot about like superhero fatigue and you know things like that,
Mhm.
and I, you know, I think there has been sort of a downturn a bit in quality of writing and storytelling, and I think a lot of it has to do with there's so many outlets.
Yeah.
There's so many streaming services. There's and all these services and platforms need product,
Yeah.
and I just think it's probably somewhat easy to get something greenlit nowadays. You know, because you know it's
Sure.
everybody needs stuff to show. You know, so you know I'd like to see a little upturn in quality. There's also some really interesting implications, like in both of the writers and the SAG strike, around the use of AI and
Yeah.
things of that nature, like you know, like computer written screenplays and
Oh yeah.
the use of there's an interesting in the SAG thing about background actors. Like they bring them on set for one day, but then they can basically like insert them into the rest of the movie. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe 10 days of shooting for a background actor. So
That's
there's a
bad
lot of really interesting like current event implications to what's going on right now.
for sure. Josh mentioned Blue Beetle. Josh, don't worry. I think Blue Beetle would be safe because they're in post production. If not, they're
Oh yeah,
done with
way.
post production already. So
Yeah.
any movie that's in post production, I think they're fine with, because I don't think writers are involved with any of that. I'm not 100% sure, but as far as Aquaman, Blue Beetle, the Marvels, those movies should all be fine because they are, you know, basically a done product at this point, and we're just waiting for them to come out. Yeah, so you know, that's some unfortunate news. There has been some good news that we've gotten coming out recently as well. So let's throw a little bit of that in. Um, for those of you who didn't see my post about me being very excited about this, Miss Marvel will be writing Miss Marvel. That is right. Iman Vellani, the actor who plays Kamala Khan in the MCU, has been tapped to co-write. So not by herself, but she will be co-writing the new Miss Marvel run. If you're not keeping up with the character in the comics, she was killed off recently. And it seems that, as we, had predicted, a bunch of people had said this, they may be using this to kind of retell her story as a mutant. Not 100% on that. I've seen conflicting information, whether that's going to be happening or not, because, she is a mutant in the MCU, as we know from her show. But this is really cool. This actor isn't just an actor playing a part. This is someone who truly loves and understands this character. There are pictures of her when she was 15, 2 years before she was even cast as the character, dressed up as Kamala Khan for Halloween. When she did her interview and her auditions, one of them was via a webcam due to the pandemic, and she actually showed off her room to I forget who exactly was interviewing her. It wasn't Feige, but someone else who I can't remember her name, that does all the casting for the MCU. But she showed off her room, which was just jam packed with Marvel and MCU stuff. So this is someone who truly loves the product, truly understands this character. And I think that is great that they are pairing her up with a veteran writer in order to take on a project that she has never really done before. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely we'll want to check it out. So the writer that she's being paired up with is actually a writer from the show.
Okay.
Not a comic writer. So they're both. So it's a writer from the Ms. Marvel show, and maybe they have comic credits. I wasn't able to check on that.
Yeah.
A couple other things I saw in the story. You can see there on the left, the title of the book is Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant.
Yeah.
And you see her wearing like an X-Men style costume. Now, I did see a little piece of an interview with Filani where she said, we are not changing her Inhuman origins.
Right.
So they're not turning her into a mutant for the comics to line it up with the shows. They're so we don't know what this means, like why it's called the New Mutant and why she's wearing the X and all that stuff. But she sort of put it out there right away. She's like, no, we're not making her an Inhuman anymore.
Yeah. There's so many different ways they can go with this. And I like that they're making her a mutant in the comics, but I also like that they're not getting rid of her Inhuman origin. It does seem like we're not really going to have Inhumans in the MCU. So I don't know if that's going to change in the future or not, but really cool what they're doing here.
Yeah, and like you said, like she's got street cred in terms of being a geek. Like she kind of described it as like she's basically getting to write like her favorite fan fiction and kind of turn it into a script, whatever. So like I know there's like there's a lot of naysayers out there towards her, and I would love for them to challenge her in a in a Marvel trivia.
Oh, sure. Listen, if you want to see the naysayers in the community talking about her, look at my post about her from 2 or 3 days ago and post about this news, because I had a guy say that it's great that she got into this character, or I forget. He's like, what does she know about the character in the comics? And I said, well, she's very into this character. She's, blah, blah. And his comeback was, it's great that she got into the character after being cast in the role. And I responded, no, I mean, she was the character for Halloween. And his response was, do you believe celebrities on everything they say? And I said, no, but I believe photo evidence of her at age 15. And I mean, there are a certain subsection that is always going to just be a hater and be a curmudgeon. But we don't.
No, I think she's great. I really enjoyed the show. And even just watching the trailer for the Marvels, like she was my favorite part of the trailer, so I'm excited to, I want to see her role expand in the MCU, no pun intended.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we have a bunch of news today, so we're going on from that piece of news to this kind of interesting one. And Mike definitely weighed in on this before the show with me, because I wasn't aware of something. But Flash is going to digital release I guess this week or in the near future. did not fare well in theaters, as we spoke about. But Mike had brought something up that it seems that The Flash will be released, and it will be the first movie released as a non-fungible token. Can you touch on what we had talked about before, Mike?
I saw an article along the lines of that this movie is being released on blockchain was the headline.
Yeah.
And I scanned through it as quickly as I could, and it is, basically it's being released through a certain portal online. You can purchase it. Basically, the whole movie is being released as a non-fungible token, like you said, and there's all sorts of little extra. There's like all this exclusive content that you can sort of find within that version of it. That leads to other types of content and like other collectibles, like digital collectibles within the movie that you can find. And so it looks like a whole new sort of way to interact with owning a film. I don't know too much more about it than that.
Yeah. Obviously there's a lot of talk all the time about the investment value of non-fungible tokens, which you may know as NFTs. They've been talked about a lot recently, as far as the ownership, the blockchain investment value. Not getting too far into it, but just always be careful what you're purchasing, and know that when you're purchasing something so unpredictable as this, there's no guarantee that you will see a profit or even get your money back. And there is totally a chance that you will lose everything that you have invested into it. Just want to put that out there, because I think a lot of people over the last few years dove into cryptocurrency and blockchain technology, NFTs, without really knowing what was going on. So always be careful.
Yeah, when I first heard about NFTs, I was like, well, that sounds pretty dumb. And then yesterday I had to lug 40 comic boxes in and out of a comic book show, and in the humidity, and now I'm like, NFTs, I'm all in.
Yeah. What did I say when we were unpacking at your house, which was our final lap yesterday? Mike and I shared a U-Haul, and I brought about 25 long boxes. Mike had 40 some short boxes and a couple longs, and the final lap, I said, man, I wish I was still doing this with cards, because for those who don't know, I had an online Magic the Gathering store in my 20s before I got more serious about comics. And yeah, those are a lot lighter. Let's just say that. All right, moving on from The Flash, we got one more piece of news, and in my opinion, this is the best news. I would call this news terrific, if you will, and that is the casting of multiple different characters. We've got, I apologize if I pronounce these names wrong, Edie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. We've got the great Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. We've got Anthony Kerrigan as Metamorpho, and as Hawkgirl, we're not sure which Hawkgirl, but we have Sabella Merced,
probably.
Merced. I don't know how to pronounce these names, but you know what? This is pretty cool. We've got 4 characters cast. All of these characters will be appearing in Superman Legacy, according to the release. And this isn't a rumor here. We got these 4 characters confirmed. Really cool.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen anything with Sabella. Obviously Nathan Fillion we know very well. It's interesting that he's getting older, and I've seen the guy playing Mr. Terrific. Obviously he was in X-Men First Class, and a couple other things. And the dude playing Metamorpho, I mean, he just, without any makeup, just looks like Metamorpho.
Yeah.
And B, he was in the show Barry on HBO and was hilarious.
So I haven't watched that show yet, but like, just from what I heard about this guy and that show in general, I really want to see that.
Yeah, I think he's a fantastic choice. What's interesting to me about these choices is, obviously we don't know how they fit into the movie, But thinking about Nathan Fillion being a little bit of an older looking Guy Gardner, you would think, is that now my understanding of the movie is that it was kind of billed as like almost like a Superman year one, like it was like the early days of Clark in Metropolis, right? So they were skipping over Smallville, going straight into Metropolis.
Not an origin. They said it's not an origin, but it will be young Superman.
Right. And obviously we saw the actor cast, it is a younger actor cast as Superman. So it's interesting that like I certainly didn't expect to see a bunch of DCU characters in this movie. And it it'll be kind of interesting because you would always think of Superman as, at least, from the comics, the idea of like he was the catalyst and the inspiration for the rest of the characters that came afterwards. Right. So this idea that there may be some sort of history, obviously now the Green Lantern Corps has been around way before Superman. But you never saw like the Earth Green Lantern until, after Superman. So, if Guy Gardner's sort of, got 20 or 30 years on this guy and these other characters around before Superman, after Superman, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see like how they kind of play with that timeline.
Yeah, the real question is who will be playing Batman and punching Nathan Fillion in the face?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this. Really, like, I'm a Superman hater. Anyone that's watched my content knows that I am not a fan of the Superman character. I find him really boring. I've really never read any Superman thing that I like really got into. But I'll tell you this, that may change with this movie. Maybe this movie is going to spark enough of an interest because I am so stoked about it. And as we get more and more, that's it certainly is just building that excitement.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I wouldn't say for as long as Superman has been around, obviously, like you're certainly going to have ups and downs in the story quality here and there. Every writer, whenever I read an interview with a writer taking over Superman, I don't care if it's like someone I've never heard of or if it's like Grant Morrison or anybody else, they always talk about how Superman is the most difficult character to write for because he is so powerful, and it's like coming up with stories and you don't want to see him just necessarily like punching giant gorillas every issue. You want to find ways to challenge this character. So there is a lot of challenge, I think, in writing a really, really engrossing Superman story. There are, of course, many of them. But on top of that, like I was that perfect age when the Christopher Reeve movie came out.
Sure.
That movie imprinted itself on my DNA, so I have an affinity for Superman. I literally, whenever that movie's on and the scene where he catches Lois in the helicopter in front of the Daily Planet, like I literally get goosebumps. Like I have a physical reaction to that movie to this day when that and the music and the John Williams score kicks in and everything. So I'm definitely waiting to recapture some of that particular magic, and I hope it happens.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I'm like we always say on the show, we want these movies to do well. We want to support these movies. So, I have faith in Gunn. I know some people don't, but yeah, anyway, moving on. We got one more topic, but before we do, contractual obligations do apply. We have to put Chet on for a second. He just wanted to butt in and say something. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a special live announcement. This is Chet G-Pot, and consider this my explosive resignation from the wretched depths of comic book canon. Listen up, you imbeciles. It has come to my attention that the co-host position, the prestigious spot I so rightfully deserve, will never be mine. I can't help but be enraged by the sheer idiocy that permeates this show. But fear not, my dear audience, for I refuse to be shackled to this sinking ship of mediocrity any longer. I, the epitome of brilliance and wit, hereby liberate myself from this cesspool of incompetence. And to Jeff, Chris, and Joe, I offer my deepest condolences for the dismal existence you pathetically parade around as entertainment. However, do not mourn my absence, for I shall rise from the ashes of comic book canon and embark on a new journey. Yes, my loyal followers, I proudly announce the birth of my own show, where brilliance and snark will reign supreme. Brace yourselves for the arrival of Comic Book Canon Boom, where true comic book knowledge and cutting-edge commentary shall flourish. This is Chet G-Pot, bidding a contemptuous farewell to the fools of comic book canon and preparing for a triumphant rise with comic book canon boom. Chet out!
Oh no, Chet, don't go. We want you here. Yeah, I honestly, I don't know what to say. He whew. Comic book canon boom. We may have a lawsuit on our hands. We might have to talk to our lawyers, Tony Connor and Dan De La Torre. We need to talk to those guys. All right. Well, yeah. Let's see what happens with that. But anyway, Mike, you had some interesting news that you brought up to me today about you know specifically some stuff that Bob Iger, Disney CEO, had spoken about regarding some things that will be relevant in the future. You want to pop off on that?
Yeah, I mean, there were some comments he made recently that I saw people really commenting on, like on Instagram and stuff, and basically to the effect of saying like he thinks that there's just been too much content speaking about specifically about the MCU and Star Wars, and saying that it's like it's caused a dilution, I think, in the quality to have so many like shows running and movies in production and just that like obviously when they launched Disney Plus, like they needed a lot of content and they really wanted to go all in on it and go hard on it. And that I guess that they're seeing on their end, they're seeing sort of diminishing returns, and that they think that that the audiences are kind of tuning out a little bit, and so he basically was saying like you're probably going to see us cutting back on some of the content and focusing a little more on quality, which doesn't sound like a bad thing. I think a lot of people in the community have been saying that, like that it's just been like one thing after another and everything just it's kind of getting a little homogenized. But when he said it, like all hell broke loose. People were like, so you don't know what you're talking about, and you better not do this and that and the other. So anyway, I started checking into some things. I even made some graphs. Which you
look at this guy.
But and I wasn't able to get them over to you, but maybe I'll post them later on my IG. But I was looking at, so I put out the entire MCU timeline from Iron Man to Secret Invasion.
Okay.
And I graphed out the Rotten Tomato scores, the Metacritic scores, and also the domestic box office for the films.
Sure.
And basically, you definitely can see a trend down sort of post Endgame, in sort of all regards. And now it doesn't, when you just look at the numbers, it doesn't sound like a big thing. Like, so if you look at the Iron Man through Endgame, like the average Rotten Tomato score is 84. If you look after Endgame, the average score is 81. And then if you look at Metacritic, it's 69 prior to Endgame and 67 after Endgame. But the point is that if you like watch the trend lines, they're trending down. Like they're going in that direction. Okay.
Sure.
The other interesting thing, though, to me, and this is probably what Bob Iger is looking at, is the film grosses. Yeah. So these are domestic film grosses that are the chart I saw now was not adjusted for inflation, which is important. So prior to and up to Endgame, the average MCU theatrical domestic gross was around 370,680,000. Okay, so 370.6 million.
Yeah. Okay.
Now after Endgame, the average gross drops. Apparently, it drops a little bit to 354. So from 370 to 354. But what's interesting when you look at the films is the two super duper highest grossing films post Endgame are both Spider-Man movies. okay, which are the Sony product. And Sony, Disney doesn't take a part of the box office on the Sony movies. They get other considerations
Interesting.
on it. So if you factor those two movies out, that Disney's not getting that money, the
Yeah.
average actually goes from 354 down to 294. So that's a pretty big drop in going from 370 average down to 294 average.
Sure.
So, now obviously there's other things happening in there, like you've got like Black Widow was basically a release day and date, right, on streaming. So you kind of have to factor that out a little bit. But you also have like 10 Rings is in there, Eternals is in there. And those are both like basically like the lowest grossing movies of the MCU. What's interesting about that is like part of Bob Iger's comments was that he also said something about he thinks there's been too many sequels and that they want to see like sort of fewer going back to the same characters and like bringing in new blood and new ideas and things like that. But it seems like, the first couple times they did that with Shang-Chi and with Eternals, it didn't pay off. And yet he really wants to see, kind of some more of that.
Yeah. Shang-Chi, I think, was a casualty of the pandemic. I think that was still the tail end of restrictions and stuff like that. And I think that movie was phenomenal. Black Widow wasn't the best movie, and also pandemic, and also it being delayed. And Eternals was just not a great movie in general. But Dan De La Torre mentioned politics, and I gotta disagree. I'm with Collecting Dude on this one. Politics have literally always been a major focus of comic books, and I don't think you can read the Claremont run of X-Men and not agree with politics.
I don't necessarily think politics in those terms, but I will tell you this. So I have a few friends on my Facebook that are sort of ultra way off to the right. I mean, way off to the right. Okay. And I can tell you after that whole, if you remember that whole fight that's kind of still going on between Disney and DeSantis in Florida.
Sure.
When that whole thing blew up, all those people were like, I canceled my Disney Plus today. I canceled my Disney Plus today. I saw that multiple times. So in that regard, there were people that are sort of like, really into all that garbage politics. And we've seen reports of Disney Plus. They don't really tell you how many, but we've seen reports that their subscriber numbers have been going in the wrong direction as well. So not just the box office gross has been going in the wrong direction, and the subscriber numbers on Disney Plus has been going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So.
Yeah, 2 words for me. Florence Pugh. Yeah, I agree. She's phenomenal. And honestly, the Black Widow movie, it's fine. It's a good movie. It's entertaining. It's not oh man, I loved it, I want to rewatch it. But anyway, we don't need to get into that now. And as far as the numbers that you put out, I'd really like to like visually see these graphs, because talking about them is one thing. So definitely everyone go follow Pope of Chilitown on Instagram. Watch his Sunday comic sermon. I'm gonna give you a little shout out now for coming on today. Throw your little you're this way. Throw your little cookie. But yeah, go check out his stuff. He always has interesting topics, and the research is great here. But anyway, we're moving on from this topic right here. I hope that if they are slowing things down, like has been spoken about, that it does up the quality. Even though I'm satisfied with the quality right now, would I like it to be better? Of course, everything can always be better. I
think for me, it's just, is there a single thing after Endgame that I think is as good as anything that came before it? I don't think so. I mean, there's been some good stuff. Yeah, I don't think there's nothing. I think there's nothing after Endgame that to me would probably rank higher than stuff before. I mean, maybe the Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say Guardians 3 and the 2 Spider-Man movies.
I'll have to look at it a little harder, but
what about
I haven't gotten the same sense of excitement for stuff. I don't know, post Endgame.
Does that include the shows?
Yeah, again, like a lot of it is good, but to me, like I just haven't there haven't been these big wells of emotion and excitement in me as some of the stuff that came earlier. So
I'll tell you, I think WandaVision is better than almost every single MCU movie. Loki is up there. Hawkeye's up there. And honestly, Secret Invasion probably will be up there by the end of it.
Yeah, we'll see. Secret Invasion's been good. I mean, I think Hawkeye might be my favorite of the shows. I did it, like I enjoyed them all, but I just I don't know if I don't know. I just don't get the same sense of excitement from it. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Everyone's gonna have their different opinions. I loved WandaVision. I have friends that are huge comic fans and fans of the MCU. That is one of their least favorite.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone's gonna have different opinions.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree on the best of the best stuff that's come out. As far as the Avengers movies, the 2 Captain America sequels, but like I said, moving forward, hope the quality does improve because that's just going to be good for the future of the MCU, the comic book collecting hobby, all that stuff. But anyway, we have to move on, and I'm not sure what to do right now because at this next point we would have Chet on to do his new comic book day. Hold on a second. I'm Chet just wants, I guess he wants to say one more thing. Let's see what's going on here.
Ladies and gentlemen, a moment of humble pleading from Chet G.P.O.P.E.D.O.C.K. I beg for your forgiveness for my disrespectful resignation from comic book canon. I deeply regret my hurtful words and actions. Please, I humbly request to be reinstated as a correspondent. I promise to approach the role with utmost professionalism and respect. To the viewers and my beloved fans, I beg for your forgiveness and the chance to make things right.
Oh, well, I thought we were rid of him. Unfortunately, in his contract, apologies negate any quitting of the canon. I didn't write this. I'm not the lawyer. Jeff negotiated. The lawyers were involved. It cost us tens of thousands of dollars worth of retention to get all that hammered out. So I guess he's back. Yeah. So before we get in to the new comic book day recap with chat, let's say hi to some people in the chat here tonight. We've got Josh's Comics saying yeehaw. We got Collecting Dude Dan De La Torre. Did I do a good Jeff there? Was that good?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, there we go. Goonish Lurker in the house. We've got Nori Jordan, aka Jordan Nori, whichever way you want to say it. It's good. We got look at that. Popa Chili Town in the comments and in the live stream himself. Caleb Leland in the house as well. P. Keel is here. Who do we got? We got a lot of people in the house tonight. Collecting Dude. I don't know if I said that already, but he's here, ready to give his opinion on things. Gotta love it. Raw Dog Comics. What's up? Oh, wait a second. I see a ... from Jeff Bell. I didn't even see that before, but like I said, Jeff's not here tonight, but he's here in spirit, as is Chris. We got Fat Dad Comics in the house as well. And is that everyone? Oh, an important one. We've got Bond. Paul Bond. Gotta say it the way Jeff says it. I don't want to make anyone feel like I'm trying to take Jeff's spot, even though I am. Who else we got? Anybody? Oh, yeah, here we go. Couching and Slouching with C. Bizzle. We got Brandon Riley, the collector without fear. We got Peter Thornton hanging out tonight. And we might be down to the end of the list. Is there anybody else? Let's see. Keep scrolling. Lots of repeat names. Bottom tier collector. Hello. And I think that might be everyone. Woo! That was my first time doing that. That was exciting, but also very stressful. So I give Jeff some kudos here. Yeah. All right. So like I said, Chet, unfortunately, we have to let him do his job, talk about New Comic Book Day. There are some really cool books coming out this week. So let's take a look and see what he's got to say.
Oh, joy of joys. It's New Comic Book Day. And you know what that means, folks? Time for me to grace you mere mortals with my unparalleled wisdom and present the 3 picks of the week. Brace yourselves, for it's about to get really real for real. First up, we have Blue Beetle Special Number 1. Can we all pretend to be excited for James Rye's big screen debut? You know, the movie no one asked for? DC is, of course, milking it for all it's worth with this special edition. It's a rehash of the 2006 solo debut by Keith Giffen and John Rogers. Wow, DC, so original. But hey, I guess it's not like they're giving us anything new or exciting, right? Void Rivals number 2, where G.I. Joe meets Transformers in a desperate attempt to revive 2 franchises past their prime. Kirkman and DeFelici are serving up a shared universe that's about as thrilling as a dentist appointment. Apparently, the Sacred Ring's never-ending war is changing. Yawn. Can we just get to the part where I never have to hear about this drivel again? Moon Knight City of the Dead number 1. Oh, how delightfully original. Another spin-off with a new Scarlet Scarab because we needed more Moon Knight nonsense. Spectre's vow to defend the Night Travelers is getting old, folks. But don't worry. Marvel is taking us on a harrowing adventure that's probably more predictable than my morning coffee order. A journey to the underworld. Oh, how groundbreaking. So there you have it, my darlings. 3 picks that you can gladly leave on the shelf. But hey, if you enjoy mediocrity and repetition, be my guest. I'll be here pounding grape soda and laughing at your lack of taste. Check out!
I didn't miss him at all.
Did you? I don't know if you saw the news. Not to extend the news, but when you mentioned Void Rivals, that reminded me. Did you see that? Kirkman's, what is it? Is it Sky? What is it? The name of his?
Skybound.
Skybound. They just got the license to Universal Monsters.
Oh.
And the first thing coming out is a Dracula miniseries by James Tynion.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that is interesting, and that is also gonna possibly affect the MCU, the monster side of the MCU. I don't.
I mean, I would think Dracula itself is basically in the public domain at this point, but I think they specifically have the license to, like the Bela Lugosi, like the Universal Monsters version.
Okay, so the likeness of those actors. Okay, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, I want to just take this in for a second. Bottom Tier Collector said I'm running the show like a boss, so that's great. But unfortunately, I've committed a cardinal sin. I forgot Mark Lineker. All right, there. Now I've said hello to everyone in the chat. Then we're talking about Chet's ample bosom. Great. Jetfire versus Dracula. That would be yeah, I don't know if I'm buying that one. But yeah, that is interesting. I'm definitely gonna look out for that. I was a huge fan of the Universal movies as a kid, and honestly took today. So great. Well, thank you, Chet. We'll move on to our next segment, which it's honestly this one, it's not going to be the same without our good friend, because we just can't do the intro quite right. So instead of doing the intro like we normally do, I think we'll do it as a moment of silence for Jeff. Ask Joe. Moment of silence. Bow your head. Respect. That's right. We're doing Ask Joe. Feel free to pop something into the chat if you have a question for me, or of course, you can ask Pope of Chilitown something too. I'm sure he's going to weigh in on all of the topics that we talk about. I had one in my head. I had it in my head that someone asked me on Instagram today. They'd messaged me this question regarding comic book collecting, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring that to the table tonight. And you know what happened to me? Not only did I forget, but I also lost the message somewhere because I sent out my invoices. And so my messages section is a mess at the moment. So if you have a question, now would be the time to ask it, because I messed up. And but yeah, we just couldn't do that intro quite like we normally do. We need Jeff's beautiful angelic voice. Marvel Man 616 in the house. Joe, I don't have a question. Just wanted to say that you're doing a great job. I'm proud of you. That's even better than a question. Thank you, Josh. And Josh, it was good seeing you yesterday. Like I mentioned, me and Mike, as well as Paul Bond, we did a show. In fact, Paul was the organizer of the show. Mm-hmm. And it was at the flea market that he attends on not attends, but sets up at. He has a booth there. And so shout out to Paul Bond. Really great show he put together. It was interesting because most comic shows, everyone's there at first and then it dwindles throughout the day. This was just constant, like, medium foot traffic. There wasn't ever like a time that it was packed, but there wasn't ever a time that there was no one in there either, which was really cool. Yeah. It made it a lot less stressful because usually it's crazy at first and then it's dead and boring. This was the opposite, which is
awesome. What a crazy mix of product at this show. Like it was like, like there was a freaking AF-15 there.
There was. There was a restored AF-15 in the room.
Yeah, plus all the stuff that Paul brings. All that golden age goodness and just anything you really, I mean, it was a really good mix of a couple sports card guys, like really good mix of vendors. Like it was anyone would have been happy at that particular, like walking into that dealer show, like anyone would have been happy at that show.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't see a single person that walked in and walked out with nothing other than like, the people just kind of going through from the flea market. Mm-hmm. But pretty much everyone walked in, bought something from at least one of the vendors. I actually had a guy fill up a long box from my dollar bins, which was awesome. And I gave him my deal that I do at Back Deck Comic Fest. I said, if you want $90, fill up that long box. All right, let's get to some of these questions here. Mark Leneker says, I got a question. Why does it seem that comic sellers have been in the news so much with negative stories? What is going on with some of these sellers? Well, I think a couple things. I think that because of the comic boom, a lot of sellers, companies, stores did very, very well. And then when those profits and those customers and those, purchasers and stuff started to dry up or diminish, I think that unfortunately a lot of people scrambled to try to, continue that success. And that caused probably some people to take some shortcuts and do some things that might be unethical. The market is always changing. And if you're not adapting and if you're not, a reputable company, you're gonna fall behind. I think that, I've seen, comic stores that have gone out of business in the last year and companies that have decided to, close up shop and individual sellers that said, I'm getting out of the game because they were doing so well. And then it went down, but you kind of have to adapt. Fortunately for me as a seller, I've really scaled in that time, despite the market going down, and I'm selling books, maybe I was selling a book for $20 and I'm selling it for 15, 10 or 5 now. I've scaled enough during that time that I'm moving way more product. So, that makes up for it. But yeah, unfortunately, in any community, in any, field, in any job, career, whatever it may be, hobby, there are going to be people that are going to take advantage of other people. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Hot Stuff right now, I think is the name of the company, and, issues with other vendors that I've seen pop up. Basically, as a buyer, stay away from them. Block them on Instagram. Don't attend their claim sales. If you see something suspicious, there are so many buyers out there. You don't have to go to this person or that person. In general, comic books are pretty easy to find, unless you're looking for like rare golden age stuff. nothing else is really rare. There
Yeah.
might be, a couple thousand on the census of something, or a couple hundred on the census of something, but they're out there. So yeah, just be careful. That's all I gotta say about that.
Same thing happened at when the '90s bubble burst. When the '90s was really cranking, like every sports card guy, every flea market guy, they were getting accounts. It was easy to get an account. You could get the max discount with very low order numbers, and you got all these people got into the market because they saw how hot it was. They didn't understand it. They were just making money. Then all of a sudden they weren't, and they didn't know what to do at that point, and they just want to unload their product, and maybe in some skeevy ways. And that was when they didn't have the benefit of like the internet, where they could do real skeevy things on the internet and mail order and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, and Paul mentioned something. All the sports card guys that hopped into comics. There was a sports card vendor that was at the show, and I bought. In the beginning of the show, we didn't even really finish setting up yet. I bought 2 short boxes from him. He didn't even want them on his table. And then at the end of the show, he was leaving, and I made him an offer on all his slabs, and I ended up walking away with that. So yeah, markets are going to go up and down. People that were just in it for the quick money, people that were in it to make a buck, or people that were in it because they had comics and they thought, hey, now's a good time to sell them. They're probably getting out of it, or they're just losing their customer base because they don't have, the customer service, the product, whatever. I've seen a lot of places just like pushing dollar books, like just trying to get rid of inventory and mystery boxes, which beware of those. Like sometimes they're cool. I did mystery boxes like a couple months ago, and I made them. At least I tried to make them good, and I think everyone was happy with them. But there can be some bad ones as well.
Yeah. Then you have the stores that went hard on all the exclusives.
Oh,
and that turned into like, you have to be like selling out of one to fund the next one, and all of the trouble that caused some of these stores that just weren't equipped to again, they just didn't have the knowledge, they didn't have the history or the knowledge to handle it. So
I personally, I had 2 people ask, like, would you, either one person asked me, would I ever do an exclusive? And someone actually tried to do a collaborative exclusive with me. And I was just like, you know what? That's not something I want to do. But yep, just know who you're buying from, and find the sellers and vendors and Instagram streamers, whatnot streamers, whatever that you like, and stick with them. Second question, Fat Dead Comics, how do you think James Gunn DCU will fare compared to the future of the MCU? Honestly, I hope they both succeed. But I could see DC kind of taking over the market there. If those movies are good enough, I can see the $1 billion scores and stuff go into DC, and maybe Marvel, kind of floundering at, 700 to 900,000 or whatever. So this is again a wait and see situation. I have a lot of faith in James Gunn, but I also have a lot of faith still in the MCU.
Yeah, and I think competition is a great thing, and I think a strong DCU only makes for a better MCU. Like, Kevin Feige does not want to be riding anybody's coattails. So if all of a sudden all the momentum shifts to DC, I think that's only going to give Marvel the kick in the butt that they need, more than anything Bob Iger might say. I think if all of a sudden fans are like, wow, DCU is where it's at, I think that's going to be a real hard pill for Kev to swallow, and he doesn't want to be in that position. So I think it's a great thing. I think a lot is going to rest on the shoulders of Superman. If that movie doesn't come out of the gate strong and with a pretty high universal love for it, then I think they may have some problems. But so that movie needs to be really pitch perfect, in my opinion.
Yes, agreed. And you know what? I think it will be. We've got some exciting news already. Only time will tell here. Who is the best superhero and why is it Daredevil? Well, let's see. Someone said you misspelled Batman. I'm going to say you misspelled Nightcrawler / Spider-Man. We'll see. But yeah, Daredevil's great. can't wait to see more of him in the MCU. We got a question for you, Mike, coming from Josh. Give me 3 DC books you are specking on. And also, you're an amazing co-host, and this will be the highest rated show in canon history.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those props.
No props. Yeah. I mean, the last part I can't argue with. The first part, DC books I'm specking on. I haven't really, I haven't really been thinking too much in terms of spec, but I guess I would say, I think Superman villains, it's like Batman villains are, like those are just books that never go down, not too hard on your ear anyway. And, but I think Superman villains have a lot of room. Honestly, I would also say in general, look for the off-kilter stuff because of the James Gunn factor, right? So no one even thought of Creature Commandos in 30 years before that news broke. I would be looking at like even Metamorpho is a pretty kind of C-list character to all of a sudden,
definitely
pop up. I think, so properties like I would have said Doom Patrol, but they kind of had their bite at the apple recently. So I don't think we're going to see them anytime soon, but maybe something like Metal Men, or even like Challengers of the Unknown. Or I just don't think he's afraid, and I think he's probably emboldened, even by the success of Guardians. Like we all remember, where we were the day when we heard that they were making a Guardians movie. And, what the hell? And then of course it became like a lot of people's favorite MCU movie, so that's probably off the top of my head, like what I would say to that.
Okay. Yeah. I think I've answered this question on this before, but I was saying Parasite. That's one book that I think is a great grab. I'm not doing too much specking right now, just because I like to keep things moving, and I more spec on stuff that I really enjoy. So I'm specking a lot of X-Men stuff. One of my favorite runs. Makes sense for me to spec on that, because if I get stuck with those books, then I've got a short box full of the first appearance of Bishop, and I'm stoked about that because I love that character. But yeah, I mean, you want to make sure if you're specking on something that it has potential to go up. I as much as like there was a spike of the first appearance of what's his name, Bloodsport, was that the guy's name? Superman 4?
Yeah.
Bloodshot. No, Bloodsport.
Bloodsport, yeah.
Bloodsport, okay. I get all the blood characters mixed up. But yeah, as much as there was a spike when that character was in Suicide Squad, the spike happened during the comic boom. So, it went up to crazy heights of $40. But realistically, it's like a $10 book. And that's a massive print run, late 80s book that is easy to find in high grade. There's probably a ton of 9/8 on the census now. Be careful that you're not specking on something. Bottom tier had mentioned bronze and copper. Yeah, modern stuff is going to be, at least 90s modern stuff is going to be a lot easier to find. Copper stuff, though, honestly, is pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
So just, be careful. You're a lot of books, people will spec on them and they'll buy them at market price thinking they're going to double, triple, and maybe they go up a little bit, but if there's too many of them on the market and it's too easy of a book to find, it prevents it from going up too much.
Yeah. That reminded me, the other thing I kind of always keep an eye out for is like Justice League Dark characters. I think there's probably a lot of room for that stuff. And there's some
number
bronze
one
copper in there. But yeah, I think gone are the days of, getting a news drop that Frogman is going to be in an episode of She-Hulk, and then we all run out and buy Frogman comics. I avoid the hell out of that. Like I would say, look for comics that have, if you're going to spec, and I think the spec game has really, really changed, in the last year or so, right? Put your money in a character that has solid foundations, and it's probably never going to drop below a certain point. Like if nothing ever happens with Lobo, like, that Omega Men book is never going to go below $100.
Sure.
So if you end up specking on one and spend 130, like you pretty much have a floor of $100 in that book.
Yeah.
But if you end up overpaying for one of these like weird flash in the pan characters that ends up, like, and you end up paying like 80, 90, $100 for something that it's going to end up in a dollar bin in 6 months. Like that's the kind of spec that I think is good. That's kind of on the wane and stuff that everyone's to watch out for.
Yeah, and I like specking in the dollar bins too.
Yeah,
Because even when you swing and a miss, you paid $1 and you own the comic. You can read the comic. There's a lot of books like that I have been pulling out of dollar bins and stuff like that and hoarding, just because there's not much of a risk. Investment is all about risk versus reward. And speculating is a type of investing. It's obviously a riskier type of investing, but if you're not putting much into it, say you spec on a book, you pay $1. Okay. It doesn't go up. You lost $1. Say it's worthless. You lost $1. Great. You have a book to read. Cool. But if it goes up to 5, 10, or even more dollars, you're multiplying your money. Now, obviously, in order for it to be more money, you have to do that a lot of times, which is much harder to do. But you low risk and a pretty nice return is not a terrible thing. But yeah, let's see. First appearance of Kate Bishop's mom. Someone's saying Marvel Man 616. I don't actually know what that is. Is that? I guess it's not Young Avengers 1, which is the first Kate Bishop, but. Yeah, that was a great question. I really enjoyed that question. Did I miss any questions? Let's see. I think there was one more that I starred. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. This one's from Marvel Man 616. Do you guys think there's a good chance that we will see the Inheritors in the future Spider-Verse film? They are great villains and under the radar. Here's the thing about the Spider-Verse stuff. There's so many villains, so many characters that they could pull from. They could pluck an obscure one like that one, or they could go with some of the more well-known ones. Like Spot was kind of he was on the obscure end. He's a character that people knew, especially if you were into comics collecting, and mostly because people know that great cover of his second appearance. But he's not a character that random kid watching a show would know. But now he is. Now my 6-year-old nephew knows who Spot is. So
I also think, didn't they say that like the next movie, like that's it, like the next the next Miles animated movie, like that's the end of the Miles animated movies?
I don't know if they've said that particularly, but I know that they said that they referred to it as a trilogy.
Yeah.
So does that mean that there's going to be multiple trilogies or spin-off movies after that? Who knows? But it does seem like they're kind of winding it down. They're going to do one more, which I'm all for. A lot of times that they continue to do things, not just in movies, but bands too. Like there's so many bands that like they have 2 or 3 or 4 banger albums that are perfect, and then after that point, it's just like, wow, this is unlistenable. So I'd rather them end on a good note than continue to put stuff out. But
yeah,
maybe that's just me. Let's see. Kate Bishop number 9. There we go. So yeah, Key Collector has a high of 15. One thing to note that I think is great advice for anyone: Key Collector's pricing sucks. It's terrible. It often shows the high as like some crazy high number that it may be sold for once, but it might have also just been like a fraudulent sale or whatever. But it also sometimes it's really low. Sometimes like the default seems to be $1, $2, $3 for the low, mid, high. And there are books that I know, like I forget which one. It's the first Larfleeze. That book, I'm not sure if it still does, but it said 1, 2, 3 for so long, and I was selling first Larfleeze for $20 on a regular basis at that time. So just be careful about, Key Collector is a great app for information, for learning, for history, all that stuff. It is not a great app for pricing.
No, anytime I've taken a swing because of their like if I'm at like some sale or something and there's like 20 animals around me digging in boxes, you know, and I'm like, oh, gee, and I check something really quick and I make a snap decision. It's usually the wrong decision if it's based on their prices. So
Yeah. What I do here's what I do, and this is the way you can never go wrong. If you look at the number that says for mid, and imagine this is a book that is in high grade, modern copper, whatever, it's high grade. If you look at the mid price and think that is the price of this book, that is the value of this book, and you buy under that, you're good. I'm sure there's probably some extreme circumstances where it's like such an outdated or off price that's not the case. But for the most part, if you buy it, if you buy a nice higher grade copy for less than the mid price, you're going to be good. You might miss out on some things by putting them back because the mid price was significantly lower than it's worth, but you're never going to dig yourself into a hole. And I think that's better than, missing out on some things. Yeah. All right, great. Well, hey, thank you for all the questions for Ask Joe. Oh, you know what? I didn't even do I'm supposed to put this up. Ask Joe. Yeah. There we go. I like your little whisper echo. You should be in an 80s band, Mike. All right. Moving on from that. It's time.
There was another question about meatballs. It was solved in the chat, in the sauce. We can move on.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't know anyone doesn't put it in the sauce. I didn't know that was a thing. Is that some weird like Pittsburgh thing, Mike?
No. The Pittsburgh thing is you put fries and coleslaw on it, but you would still put it in the sauce.
Excuse me? Fries and coleslaw, really?
Oh, wait, have we not been to Permane Brothers?
I mean, I have, but
okay. Well, there you go.
Not with you. We're not a we situation here.
No, we'll correct that at some point.
All right.
There's one not too far from
here. Yeah, is there?
Yeah. Where's
the closest one?
It's out like on the way to Lancaster County.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, it is time for my personal favorite segment. Yeah, mine's not Ask Joe. This is doesn't matter. This next segment is my favorite part of every comic book canon show. I'm gonna do my best here to do this. Jeff has this thing down to a science, and he does it very well. But I will attempt to do it because it is time for Fresh from the Comic Shop, fly from the pressing salon. You see what I did there? It's time to do Fresh from the Comic Shop. I love this segment. This segment is truly what brought me to the show initially, watching it and participating. And then I ended up being a guest a couple times and then a co-host. So I'm very excited about this.
Remember you tuned into the show. I remember you telling me, and then you were like, they did this Fresh from the Comic Shop. I really liked it. Then they did this segment called Ask Joe. And I'm like, I need to be on this show.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I love that, Jeff and Chris really built up something really cool here. And then I got to be a part of it, which is awesome. And so anyway, Fresh from the Comic Shop, you can win a book. For those of you who don't know, who have missed it last week, we had a special announcement because not only is EGS staying on to continue to contribute their grading services to the awesome prize, but I'm going to put it up again. Spider Dude Comics is going to be supplying the book to EGS from here on out. It is a collaborative effort now. So definitely check out Spider Dude Comics, their website, their Instagram, all that stuff. If I have it here, I'll put it up. I don't know. Jeff didn't tell me how to do everything, but check out Spider Dude Comics. Check out EGS. And speaking of EGS, where is that? See, Jeff, he just left me hanging here. It's somewhere. Here we go. This is important. Boom. If you want to get some books graded by EGS, you can save 5% as part of their sponsorship. Use the code Canon5. Check out these beautiful custom labels. There's free graders notes and fast turnaround time. So if you are someone who wants to display your comics, wants something aesthetically pleasing hanging on your wall, wants a piece that, you know, your guests in your home will ask questions about. EGS Comics is great for that. Love these custom labels. And I mentioned this last week. I've got a short box that's got a couple of books that are going off to EGS. I just want to get maybe about 20 in there. And once I have that many, I'm going to send them off, and I'm going to, you know, get them graded. And some of them I'll keep, I'm sure, for myself for display. And some of them will be available in my claim sales. I think that'll be a really cool way to, you know, promote, as well as give someone a new product and let people know about this awesome product. Anyway, let's get into the fresh from the comic shop segment. I don't know how Jeff does this. This is tough, guys. We have there's so many things. There's this random picture of Ron Perlman here. me in a suit. There's all these things that are just keep coming up in my thing. But anyway, fresh from the comic shop, we're going to start off with the first submission. For those of you who don't know how you submit, you post a picture on your Instagram using the hashtag FFTCS, and also tag Comic Book Canon, tag Journos Comics, tag 360 Comics. You can tag Pope of Chilitown too if you want. Tag whoever you want. And not only that, but that will enter you into you know, for us to show your book during the week. And at the end of the show, our esteemed guest here, Pope of Chilitown, will be deciding on a winner. So you better be taking your notes, running the algorithm. Oh, look at that. Fancy. And yeah, if yours is chosen, you will face off in an audience poll, potentially to win the slab of the month, which is that beautiful Spider-Man 2099 number 1. So we're going to get into it in just a second, but first I needed to remind you, in order to get picked, you have to do one of 3 things. The criteria is a well-composed shot. You want to make sure you have a really, really nice picture. You want to make sure that it is aesthetically pleasing, whether it's the lighting, the angle, the background. Just make it something really, really cool. The second aspect is the uniqueness of the item. It doesn't have to be, as Jeff says, a $30,000 book. I know I don't own any $30,000 comics. Mike, I don't think you do either. And I know Jeff doesn't either. But there could be unique things that aren't. Maybe it was, you know, a signed book that you got signed in person, or a sketch cover like we've seen before, or just a weird like indie book that people don't know about. Bring something unique and new to the table that, you know, catches our eye. And of course, the last things, we spoke about it earlier, tugging on the heartstrings. We want to make sure, you know, that these things that we're collecting, we're buying, they have some importance to us, and sometimes they relate to a family member or a loved one or a friend, or you know, amazing story about how you found it. Whatever it may be, tell us what's going on, because that is an aspect, non-visual aspect, but you know, definitely something that goes towards your you know, our consideration for your books. Anyway, let's get into it. The first book of the day is Marvel Man 616. We've got Void Rivals #1 second print. Man, Transformers and G.I. Joe were my jam as a child. I had many of the comics from both original Marvel runs as well as figures. So this kind of book gets me geeked up. Love this Jetfire cover. And that's what we're talking about. You know, connect something. This book just came out last week, but Marvel Man 616 connecting it to his childhood and his love for this book. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm excited about this. They can definitely do something very, very cool with it. So we'll see going forward. Next, we've got boom, Son of Comics. Ooh, it is Red Hulk approved as always. And look at that cover. Ultimate Spider-Man #53, custom sketch variant from 2004. Original art by Arturo Zavala. Here's a custom sketch that I'm adding to my PC. I'm definitely trying to upgrade my sketch collection. That is awesome. Anytime you're getting custom work done, I didn't even realize that this was a custom sketch because it's so well done, and it covers the entire. I'm not sure if this was a black cover that was sketched on, or if they actually, the artist added the black. That's incredible. Holy crap.
It's really good. So he didn't say what book that was?
No, it is Ultimate Spider-Man 53,
Okay.
2004.
Hmm.
That is truly amazing. Mike, why don't you take it away with your no, that's me. How do I do Mike? 1 second, please.
Under M.
Let's see. Can I how do I solo layout? There we go.
There it is.
Hey, I'm learning.
I am
Mike, what is your first fresh get of the week?
All right. Well, this is I picked this up yesterday from our good friend Bond.
Paul Bond.
Paul Bond.
Oh wow, I was early. Sorry.
This is a book that's been on my radar for a while, and it's one of those ones you always hope to find hiding in a dollar bin. One of those ones that maybe people don't realize or know about. But I haven't come across it yet. I still think that I will one day. But this is from the Final Crisis run. This is the Rage of the Red Lanterns one shot. But this is the third printing, which is a much rarer printing. So you know it from the sort of black and white background.
Yeah.
This is the printing to have on this particular book. There's a ton of first appearances in here that lead into characters that are in, Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run and Blackest Night and all that stuff. So I think there's a ton of potential in this book, no matter what printing you get, especially since we know there's a Green Lantern show coming. And I just think that a show is the perfect place for Green Lantern. It's going to let us do these longer story arcs like Blackest Night. So I'm really happy to have picked this up, and thank you, Paul, for letting me pilfer that from your recent collection.
Yeah, that is really cool. I have never. Oh, this is not normal.
Oh,
there we go. That's better. I'm taking this one day at a time. Yeah, I've never seen that printing. I would not have guessed that book had 3 printings. That's actually pretty surprising to me. And I would assume that because it's not a book you really think would have 3 printings, that not a lot of stores ordered the third printing. Maybe they got their fill with the first and second. And that is often what happens with subsequent printings. They end up being low print run. Look up the print run for Dr. Doom #1 second printing. There were it was about 800, a little over 800 ordered by retailers. So you got to think that probably only like 1,000 were printed, something like that. But anyway, moving on. Who do we have next? That's the wrong button. We've got Union Josh Comics. Look at this thing. I'm very excited to read about this. Union Josh Comics, my sub for both Fresh from the Comic Shop and Webhead Weekend. That must be some other submission. A big book in the PC now. It's Terrific issue 11, the UK reprint of the first meeting of Spider-Man and the Avengers. I knew that cover looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. The coloration's a little bit different, and obviously the header is a little bit different as well. Okay. Anyway, also the second appearance of Kang. What a book. It's terrific. A UK run of books that reprinted big stories in from the US in magazine size format. They ran from 1967 to 1968 and had no American covers, just regular paper. Oh, so it wasn't like the thick cover, I guess that means it was just the newsprint.
Yeah.
I love finding gems like this in the wild, a UK reprint of a classic, and a cover that steals the show to top it off. UK comics have really become a new fascination for me, and to get the quality books like this in magazine size is a no-brainer. If anyone sees these books in the wild, grab them. Let's see what you've got. Wow, this really... I mean, for me, this one checks a lot of boxes here, but I have never seen this. I've never heard of Terrific Comics. I know, Mike, you have family who lives or lived in England. Were you aware of this?
No, I was not. My brothers, when they were younger, they were more into, who are older than me, but they lived there probably close to that era, and they were sort of more Batman kids and some of the DC stuff. I have never seen that before either, and that's right up my alley. As you know, like I love finding weird variants like that and foreign editions and stuff. So that is very, very cool.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. The foreign comic market has certainly grown in the last few years, but I don't think it has reached its full potential. I think there is quite a bit of potential for foreign comics, and it's one of those things that could just taper off and no one cares about them, but at the same time, it could blow up.
Yeah, I think you have to be really careful about the ones that you go for. But I am kind of feeling like if there's another kind of gold rush in comics, like that's where it's going to come out of, is the foreign editions.
Yeah, yeah. And think about it this way, there's so much hype, every time there's a big boom in comics, like the 90s and a couple years ago, variants were a big thing. And those did not fare well either times. Just keep that in mind for the next big comic boom, whenever that may come. But yeah, certainly as far as like foreign reprints, or not even just foreign reprints, foreign printings of things, like the Pence printings from the Silver Age, like those are first print run stuff. Those, they're not going to make more of those. They're not going to flood the market with those or anything like that. They're printed, and that's all that's going to come out of them. But anyway, let's see, where were we? That was Union Josh. Now we got Raising Elm Comics. Always a well-composed shot from our friend Justin. A long time ago, back in 1992, LOL, the Wild West was protected by the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Who else remembers growing up with these Western-themed group of anthropomorphic heroes? The TV series was created by comic book artist Ryan Brown, and the catchy theme song was written by Billy Dean. Picked up this issue of Cowboys of Moo Mesa, #1, alongside the copies of Albedo 3 that I posted last week. It's tattered and worn with creases galore, but I'd like to think that's because someone enjoyed this series so much as I did back in its heyday. I see what you did there. Being a kid in the 90s was so effing awesome, especially on Saturday mornings. This issue may have rekindled a spark for the other 90s nostalgia, like Street Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars, and SWAT Cats. Don't be surprised if you see those pickups on Comic Book Canon in the future. Much love, Comic Fam. Now, I love Biker Mice from Mars, and I love Street Sharks, but I have not heard of SWAT Cats, nor have I heard of the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Mike?
I've never heard of SWAT Cats. I have definitely heard of Cowboys of Moo Mesa. I've seen these books before.
Yeah.
And the other ones you mentioned, but SWAT Cats is that. In fact, I'm almost feeling like he threw that in there as a ringer, that's not even real. But
SWAT Cats, yeah, I don't know. Listen, anything mid 90s, like I'm gonna know it, but the early 90s stuff, it was before my time. So I don't know a lot of that stuff. So if that was early 90s, I probably missed it, especially if it wasn't something that stayed in like syndication or whatever. But anyway, I haven't done my my first one yet. Actually, I think we're gonna have to do a whole different ordering on this now. But this book's awesome. This I purchased. I mentioned earlier that there was a sports card dealer at the show. He had some comics. I ended up buying a couple boxes. This was one of the books that was in those boxes. Definitely my favorite out of those. So I'm gonna just show this right here. This is for those of you who don't know, there was Batman Adventures, which was the animated series book, but it eventually broke off into Batman and Robin Adventures and Batman Gotham Adventures. And this is one of the books from that run, Batman Gotham Adventures, issue number 10, with this awesome Harley Quinn cover by Bruce Timm himself. Wait, I gotta highlight this.
I like that guy.
Oh, wait. Wrong show. For those who don't know, that was a 3 Men in the Basement reference. Go check them out as well. They have a cool YouTube show and other stuff. Batman Gotham Adventures, you can't beat Bruce Timm doing Batman animated stuff. And Harley is a big part of that, obviously. So this is actually listed on Key Collector just by having a Harley Quinn Bruce Timm cover, which
that book's got a little value.
It does. I was half surprised and half not surprised because, surprised because it's just some random book from the 90s, but not surprised because it is what it is. It's the creator of Harley Quinn drawing Harley Quinn. Can't really beat that. Anyway, who is next? We got Nori Jordan in the house. It's been a crazy week here in Vermont. Sadly, the state was hit with massive flooding to many towns, and the damage has been devastating. Comic books were not really a priority considering the state of things, but I was able to get some stuff. I've prided myself on having every Thunderbolt book for Volume 1, and while going through my books, I realized that my newsstand copy of number 2 was gone. I had a minor anxiety attack when I realized I had accidentally sent it out with a set that I sold, which was a stupid mistake on my part. Luckily, after a couple of button clicks on eBay, I was able to get my complete set again. I was also able to pick up a Hulk number 1 CGC 9.8 First Red Hulk, the 2008 run, to replace the one I had to sell. I've always loved this book because of how important this character was in Volume 2 of Thunderbolts and not the recent MCU spec. Finally, I picked up a CGC-worthy copy of, you guessed it, Thunderbolts number 1. Total is at 37 copies of Thunderbolts number 1 with some great new Daredevil books. Take care and be safe, everyone. Jordan, hopefully everything has gone back to normal up in Vermont. Hopefully everything is cool with you. And hopefully the people who, were affected by those storms and that flooding are back on their feet soon enough. Mike, why don't you do your next fresh get of the week?
All right. I actually told a story this morning on the Sunday Comic Sermon about a garage sale that I hit on Thursday, which ended up being, he was doing it by appointment only. And I got the earliest appointment possible. It was Thursday morning at 7 a.m. To get first crack at the comics. And I bought 2 short boxes from this guy, about his whole leftovers of his collection. And it was a weird little mixture of stuff, like even going Silver Age up to modern, and it was just a very eclectic little batch of books. But probably the best pull out of there was an almost complete set. It's missing issue 6, thankfully, and not issue 1, but of the first Aliens miniseries. They are all first prints. As you know, there's multiple printings on most, if not all, of these books. They're in pretty decent shape. So they all have, those black covers, which, as we know, are just really rough to keep in good shape. They're not like 9/8 or anything, but they're probably all like 9/4 range. And if you don't know, the first issue of this series is the first appearance of the aliens in comics. It is actually a pretty valuable little book in first print. So happy to get some of these.
Yeah, that's awesome. You often find that book, and by the way, the first, second, and third print, I think there's only 3. At least I've only ever seen up to third. They're identical from the outside. You have to open them up. So always make sure you do on that one, because there are times that I bought that book thinking it was a first print and opened it up to find that it was third, and they are not quite as valuable as the first printings of the book. All right, who is next? We got Mark Leneker, always bringing something great to the table. Weird Tales of the Macabre, 1974 to 1975, was a comic horror magazine from Atlas Seaboard, not to be confused with Atlas Comics, which became Marvel. It lasted only 2 issues and had great covers by Jeff Jones and Boris Vallejo. As these are, Jeff Jones on the left, Boris Vallejo on the right. Bog monsters, demons, witch curses, dastardly killers, and general shenanigans. Somewhat scarce, especially issue number 2. I think that everyone probably knows in the chat already, but I freaking love this stuff, this Bronze Age horror stuff. The magazines, the epic covers. This is definitely an awesome submission. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, really, really cool. Definitely fits in with all those 70s 70s monster books and stuff like that. Moving on, speaking of monsters here, we got a good one from Josh's Comics. Check this out. Detective Comics number 475. Classic story titled The Laughing Fish. Why so serious? My fresh from the comic shop is this beautiful classic Joker cover and story. Joker is my favorite villain, and as I get older, I have started to understand why he became the way he did. Ha 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 ha. Uh-oh. I think we need to check on our good friend Josh. There is an old saying, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Oh boy. Josh, I would recommend some good quality therapy time, but just kidding. Anyway, great book. Love that cover. Anything Joker is just so collectible. I had a friend recently who's not a reader of comics at all, kind of watches the movies and stuff like that. But he actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, can you show me some comics that have Joker on the cover?" And I sent him some classic covers and stuff like that. Some of my personal favorites, Detective Comics 880, obviously Batman 251 and stuff. And that character, without a doubt, it has completely transcended from comic books and the comic hobby, and it's just mainstream at this point. I think more so than any other villain. Probably by a long shot. Like who might be next? Maybe Thanos because of Endgame and stuff, or Green Goblin because he's been in all the Spider-Man franchises. I'm not sure who it would be, but yeah, I mean, it is Joker number one without a doubt. Anyway, on to my next fresh get of the week here. I am not much of a video game guy, but I bought a small collection that had some video game comics, and this one definitely, as we say, hit me in the heartstrings because this was one of the last video games that I ever really played. I really stopped playing video games and got more to music in my teenage years. But when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, whenever Xbox came out, the original Xbox, I was huge on Halo. I played that first game to death. I've probably beaten it a bazillion times and played with my friends all the time. So this was really cool to find. I think this might be the first time I've ever found a Halo comic. Now, this isn't like the first one or anything, but this is Halo Uprising number 1. I thought it was really cool because it was actually written by Brian Michael Bendis. That's really, I didn't know he ever had written Halo. So I thought that was really cool. Kind of a little unique piece and, something with ties to my childhood and stuff. All right, next up we've got, I loved this one, The Collector Without Fear, dropping this awesome bullseye thing on us. Back to fresh from the comic shop with a vengeance, and this one is the very definition of fresh from the comic shop, as I've only had it in my possession for less than 24 hours. It's damn near impossible to choose a favorite Bill Sienkiewicz or Sienkiewicz, whatever you pronounce it, cover. Might have an easier time choosing from a favorite child. There are only 2 of them, and let's be honest, one is clearly going to be more of a handful than the other in a few years. Anyway, funny. This 1 in 50 Bullseye number 1 variant I picked up from Little Giants Comics yesterday is certainly in the running. Totally worth ruining some playing cards to set the mood. And Bullseye is such an underappreciated villain outside of the core Daredevil fan base. More people need to expose themselves, questionable face, to this character. That's funny. Yeah, I agree. Bullseye is such not only a fantastic character, but it's such an important character, to Daredevil. And also, as Nori Jordan will certainly point out, a core member of that's, volume 2 team of the Thunderbolts. So that is definitely a cool one. Let's see what
I've never seen that cover before. That is really nice. Of course, I love Bill Sinkovich, or yeah, as we said, whatever the correct pronunciation is.
His sign says Sienkiewicz.
Okay.
His like sign literally says like, I forget how he spells it, SIN-KEV uppercase Sienkiewicz. Like Kev
Okay.
is the emphasized syllable. Tom's saying next time he's on, he's got to tell us how to pronounce Vallejo. It's probably Viejo. I don't know. I've always said Vallejo, but I apologize. I apologize.
Viejo, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Jordan has corrected me. Daredevil is an important part of Volume 1 around issue 110. So later in Volume 1. I apologize. And yes, Sienkiewicz. There we go. Not even close. Oh man, I apologize. I'm an uneducated American. Anyway, moving on. We've got Goonish Lurker coming in next. And Goonish says, back at it again with this Red Room cover for Fresh from the Comic Shop. This is a self-portrait Jim Rugg variant for Red Room. Crypto Killers #2. I don't know how many people I'm getting to pick this book up on the canon. I know you're reading this, Jeff, but it's an excellent showcase of modern independent comic books. So I read the first issue of Red Room. Thought it was a cool idea. I definitely would be reading it if I had more free time, but you gotta limit yourself. I do not have all the time in the world. It seems like a really cool concept. Definitely like, horror to, suspense kind of thriller kind of thing. And, I love that stuff. Mike, have you read Red Room?
I think I'm like you. I read the first one, and I liked it. And again, I've got a few of them here that I I need to get back into. So I definitely know it's got some fans, and I enjoyed the first issue myself. So
cool. All right. Let's see. Where are we up to? We're up to your third fresh get of the week, correct?
Okay, if you say so. So last week, I had submitted. I found that box of gold and silver tucked away in my closet that I'd kind of forgotten about, and I had that picture of some of those Golden Age books that I pulled out. And then Jeff disqualified me from Fresh from the Comic Shop because they technically weren't fresh from the comic shop. But you know what? He's not here tonight, and it's like NAMM. There's no rules. So I've got something similar. I found something else.
Hold on a second before I forget. I think we just need to address that a 9-year-old kid came up to Mike's booth yesterday and was like, "Do you have any NAMM comics? I'm trying to collect the run," and grabbed one from Mike that he needed for his. I think it was #1, right?
It was #1, yeah.
How many 9-year-olds have you seen that collect the NAMM comics? Yeah. Anyway, continue. Sorry about that. I had to interject there.
That's okay. Well, I found something else that I totally forgot that I had in my garage in an envelope, and I just thought it was a cool item, so I brought it to show off. So this I would have gotten when I was working in the stores back in the 90s, and I definitely thought it was cool, like the whole design and style of it. And I said, well, I'm taking that home when we're done with it. And I got to get up for this one.
Uh-oh.
So this was the promo poster.
Oh, wow.
For Follow the Mutant, or Extinction Agenda, excuse me.
Yeah.
Extinction, it's done like sort of an Old West wanted poster.
That's so sick.
Yeah, with jagged edges, like it's this old piece of ratty paper. And pretty sure Jim Lee art, right?
Looks like it to me, yeah.
Yeah.
I have never seen this before.
Yeah. So there you go. So I definitely remember thinking, oh, that is badass. I've got to get that. It's still got a little bit of tape on it where we had it hanging in the window. Like it's not even really faded or anything. So I don't know where we had it hung up, because I was, my store was in Texas, where it was probably getting pounded by the sun all day. But maybe I took it down a little early. So so I could take it home. So, but I think this is a really cool little item, and I was really happy to find tucked away.
Yeah, that's wow. I didn't know that existed. I know they did a lot of like promotional stuff in the late '80s, early '90s, but um, Alex said it was in
It was
color.
not in color, Alex.
That would be a pretty impressive fade. That's funny. All right, we got a couple more, and then Mike, I hope you've been taking notes because you're gonna have to pick our winner.
This is a tough week, bro. So
It
let's
is.
see what else we got. There's a
And we got two
lot
more.
I liked.
Cool. All right, here we go. Next up, we got Fat Dad Comics. Let's see. I just got this awesome hashtag Funko Pop to go with my hashtag Amazing Spider-Man 300 hashtag first appearance of hashtag Venom. Since I was a kid filled with pure jealousy, I'd watch an old friend pull out this iconic comment and draw the Todd McFarlane masterpiece over and over. In all my years collecting, I have never acquired one and finally did, and wanted to show this pair for my fresh from the comic shop submission. Though the Pop is newly acquired and the ASM is a couple weeks back, I think the pair could be submitted as a viable contender. Yeah, that is beautiful. That is a book that really spiked up hard during the comic boom, and has since come down to pretty affordable prices. I don't know how much you paid for that 8.5. And if you care about sharing what you paid on the 8.5, I'd be curious. But I'll tell you this. I bought one. I got one in a collection early 2022. So over a year ago. And at that point, I sold it for $9.50, and I'm guessing that you paid significantly less than $9.50 for it because the price has come down quite a bit on that book. So yeah, love it. Yeah, look, $4.75. He said in the chat. I appreciate you letting us know. That book has become, super affordable, and those of you who have bought stuff from me, I don't overprice stuff. $9.50 was the going rate for an 8.5. Anything over 9.90 or better was selling for over $1,000. And just recently I sold a 9.2 of this book for $6.50, I think, for a 9.2. Yeah, this book has come down to a reasonable price. 9.8s are still up there in a couple thousand. 9.6s I think are still over 1,000, close to 2,000. But yeah, this book has become reasonable again. You get a mid-grade copy for under 500. This is an 8.5 for under 500, but you can get a mid-grade copy for only a couple.
Today, if you want it and don't have it, get this book today. Because if we're getting Black Suit in the Sonyverse, the Tom Holland movies, then it'll spike again.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine this book going down. The last Venom movie was not great, and I think that did hurt the value of this book. But there is potential for it to go up. That is for sure. All right, on to our last submission from the great, the mythical Dan De La Torre. Oh, I noticed something as soon as this picture went up on the screen. Let's see what he has to say about it. Here's my fresh from the comic shop for this week, an EGS. Yes, that's right. I said EGS. Graded Avengers 3. Thanks to Tony's recommendation to press this book, we brought the grade up from a 2.0 or 2.5 to a solid 3.0. Gotta love it. Beautiful color label, which enhances the colors on this classic book. And I love the Avengers logo at the top. I'm preparing to send a bunch more to EGS soon. What a great way to cap off our fresh from the comic shop. And then showing off a book that is from our sponsor, EGS Comics. We did not do that on purpose. That's just the way it turned out. But anyway, love it. That black to blue gradient on the top really definitely makes the colors pop on that. I love the yellow writing to match the trade dress. You got a solid grade, better than you thought you were going to get after that clean and press. And that Avengers logo behind the title and stuff.
Yeah.
That is super sick. And I love that even though it is golden age, or sorry, silver age, early Avengers, their third appearance, it's the modern Avengers logo. I think that looks really cool up there.
Yeah, I wonder if they like, do they have access to all the logos, or if maybe that's a little bit off. Like, I'm not sure if that's a little bit off. So it's, not like copyrighted or something. But I mean, a logo series would be a great label series.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm not super well aware since I've never ordered books from EGS myself. I do own one that I won in Fresh from the Comic Shop before I was a co-host. But since I've never ordered, I'm not actually sure the parameters. I don't think Tony's in the chat tonight to answer questions, but I'm sure you can either check it out on their website or shoot them an email and get all the information on that. And that's definitely something that I'm going to research before I send my stuff in. Great book, Dan. That is beautiful. Anyway, what are we doing? We got to do my last one, my last fresh get of the week. Collecting Dude, I hope you're still in the chat because this is something right up your alley. This is a book called Contemporary Biographics #1. It is from 1991, and it's a biography comic book. And who better to do a biography comic book on than the great Stan the Man Lee? Look at this thing. Stan Lee, we got a bunch of panels in the background, and this is a biographical comic. Revolutionary Comics was the producer, the publisher, and the only note on the label is that it's pertaining to Stan Lee. It's a Stan Lee book. Absolutely great cover. And I almost forgot to mention, look at that. Spider-Man is turning the page, reading about his creator. I think that's so cool. I looked this book up. It's really hard to figure out the value of a 9.6 of this book because there just have been no graded sales in the last couple of years other than an 8.5 restored copy sold for, I think it was like $80 like a month or two ago. That is the only sale of a graded copy in the last 3 years. I checked GPA, I checked eBay. I couldn't find any other sales of a graded one. This one's a 9.6. So I have to think that this book is worth clear over $100. If an 8.5 is selling for that, raw copies kind of range from anywhere from like $10 to $25 or whatever. But yeah, really cool book. This is definitely, Collecting Dudes in the chat saying that he does not have this. So, hey, let me know. Yeah. Maybe we can work out a deal.
I feel like, Joe, that's probably like such a rare find that if there's some dude out there that collects these kinds of things, you can probably name your price, I think.
Yeah. $500. Collecting Dude. Come on over. Come on over right now. I know you're on your way back from Mount Laurel. Come by, swing by, get your book, get your Stan Lee on. All right. Anyway, that's my book. We're done fresh from the comic shop. Well, kind of. We're done showing off the books, but we have a very important job that must be done by our astute guest here, the Pope of the Chili of the town. Mike, have you come to a conclusion? Do you have a top 3? How do you want to do this?
Man, I tell you, there are a lot of good ones.
There were quite a few that checked multiple boxes this week. There were quite a few that were really unique, ones that really captured the eye. Some with some great stories. So I do not envy your decision that you have to make today.
Yeah.
Do you have a maybe a top 3? Let's start there.
All right. I'll give you. I can narrow it down to a top 4. I'd say that's the best I can do for you.
All right.
I love that sick original art from Son of Comics. That is such a great cover. The fact that it's a sketch cover and everything, gorgeous. That terrific UK with that checks a lot of boxes for me personally. Something I've never seen before. I think that is very cool. The Raising Elm shot, just for the whole composition of the shot. That really caught my eye when I saw it on IG earlier. And I got to give props to Josh for the Joker. For the commitment of doing the face paint. And
Is that face paint or Photoshop? Josh, you need to let us know. Is that did you actually paint that on, or is that a Photoshop thing, or like a filter or something? If it's a filter, you did a good. I mean, it's a good filter. If it's Photoshop, you did a good job photoshopping because
really,
it looks good. Yeah, let's see. He says you'll never know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those four stand out to you. It's Son of Comics. We had Union Josh. We had Raising Elm, and we have Josh's Comics. So let's start eliminating. Let's start eliminating.
Oh man,
these are tough. They're all very unique in their own way. We've got. Oh, sorry, wrong one. We've got.
Hey, I love that one too. That was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We've got some serious commitment on, obviously a member of the community hopping into his own picture submission.
Yeah.
Then we've got this, extremely well composed shot with this background, foreground, everything going on. Really just ties everything together. We've got such a unique book, such a really cool thing. And, this one obviously does have that personal connection to you. And then, yeah, just this freaking amazing sketch cover. I don't, man, I do not, I don't know.
And
man.
no one's, is anybody out of the running, or, like they're all eligible?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me check on that. I should remind people of who won. Let's see. Jeff didn't write down who won. I don't think any of these people are ineligible. If any of you know, let us know. Jeff didn't put it in our, let's see. Is it anywhere up here? I am not 100% sure. I don't think any of these people are ineligible off the top of my head, but yeah. I'll say this. I think as far as the aesthetically pleasing aspect of these pictures go, I think that this is the least aesthetically pleasing to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Oh, Josh won. Sorry, Josh won once this year already.
Okay.
So Josh is out. So there we go. So we're down to 3. What do you think about Union Josh? We both think this is kind of like the least aesthetically pleasing. Great story, awesome stuff. But I think I get more excited looking at this sketch cover, and I get more excited looking at this composition here.
Yeah, man, God, it's so freaking hard.
I'll tell you which one of these I think I like the best. Oh, not that one.
Well, no, I'm gonna pick.
And okay, he's gonna pick.
You can confirm. Man. All right.
Who will it be?
I gotta tell you, I'm gonna go Elm. I just that shot just like it really jumped out at me. So that's my pick.
All right, Raising Elm Comics. Now, if Raising Elm has won, and I am forgetting, we'll correct this later on. We'll give it to Son of Comics, but I don't remember Justin winning. I remember him having some close ones, but I don't think he won recently. So, Justin, Raising Elm Comics, you're going to be winning this week's Fresh from the Comic Shop. You're going to be going up against I don't know who, because Jeff didn't put it in the show write up, but hey, that is okay. We'll confirm everything next week when he is back. And speaking of him coming back, I have something for him because he submitted some books to CGC through Collecting Dude, my good friend Alex, and Alex and I share a CGC account, and all of the CGC books they come to my house. So that package that he submitted, I think it's just 2 comics. They arrived. So next week on the show, we will be showing Jeff those grades. He doesn't know yet. I didn't tell him yet, but that is something that's going to happen at some point during the show. Maybe we'll do it like after the news or something like that. We'll do a quick little unboxing. It's just 2 books, and we'll throw them up for him to see. Yeah, great choices. Congrats to Raising Elm. That is freaking cool. A book that I didn't know existed. Apparently was like a 90s TV show. I'll have to check it out sometime. But yeah, looking forward to seeing his package. Interesting there. Anyway, Mike, big thanks for jumping on. I don't think I even talked to you about this until like Friday. So this was a short notice. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't make it tonight. He was supposed to, but some family stuff going on that he needed to attend to. And as far as Jeff, he's on that reconnaissance mission. So he'll hopefully, he'll hopefully come out of that okay, and he'll be back next week. Yeah, but I appreciate everyone for bearing with me. I am no Jeff. I am no professional here as far as manning StreamYard and putting this show together, producing and stuff. And I have a newfound respect for what he can do while multitasking, because I'm not a great multitasker to begin with. And we're talking about me multitasking something that I've never done before. So I appreciate all of you watching, and so thank you for bearing with me and stuff. And yeah, thank you for hopping on, Mike. And what do you got to say? Let the people know what you've got coming up with the sermon and whatnot.
Yeah, Sunday Comic Sermon most Sunday mornings on my IG. I might be going live one night this week. We talked about mystery boxes earlier, and I haven't done one in a while, but I actually I had my eye on Jack B. Comics for a long time, and I pulled the trigger on his recent release, and those I think are shipping like right now. So
that's a comic seller.
Yeah, he does mystery boxes on Instagram, and he always does a portion for charity to feed the children. And he does like maybe 1 or 2 releases a year. He leans really heavily into silver and bronze. And he has a really good reputation and seems to really put out some really interesting books. So I got in on his recent release, and when those come in, I'll go live and we'll go through those and see what I got.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah. And you've been dipping your toes into the claim sales on Friday night. You've done a ton with me in the past, but you've been doing it on your own from your house. So definitely give Pope a follow. Check out his. Usually we line ourselves up. So I do my Friday night claim sale. And then what usually happens is I hand it off to Mike. So if you're around, after mine, hop over to him. But yeah, again, thank you all for hanging out with us. We have such a good time here every week. Really appreciate it. It is, such a fun end of the weekend. Even as exhausted as I am now after yesterday and then more stuff today. But yep, that's going to be it for the show tonight. Again, hopefully Jeff and Chris will be back next week. And you won't have to deal with me running the show, but, thank you again. Until next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Peace.